Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. This is Hallie for those of you who have been with us for a long time. She hadn't been with us for a while because she's been busy, but she's back. At least for today. We are at an undisclosed location, which is a secret. That's why it's undisclosed, so we can't tell you, so don't ask. Um, and when we were getting ready to come down here to our undisclosed location, we were talking about some things. I had just put up over on Patreon some of the riots going. I take that back. I mistakenly called it a riot. Some of the energetic protests happening in Rome. And I turned that around because riot is a word that's used by the authorities to describe an energetic protest by the people in defense of their rights and against an oppressive regime. So these are 100% appropriate pushbacks and protests against tyranny. And I just put that up over on Patreon. So if you haven't seen it yet, go on over there. So Allie and I were talking about the fact that people are protesting in Rome and France and England and Australia and Canada and Germany and a whole lot of other places. And then Hallie asked me this.
Do you think that we're going to protest? Why aren't you hearing about any of these protests? You hear people say in between, oh, there's lawsuits against, the mandate coming up, but you don't see it in any headlines. It gets washed away pretty quickly and it gets dismissed by people. Kind of like a passing conversation. It's never really highlighted to
Right.
anybody.
People are getting all butthurt and they're all getting all worked up and they're talking to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're complaining to each other about things. And that's not that some of us aren't pushing back. I mean, I put in for, even though many of you know that I'll be leaving my corporate job, I put in for a religious exemption, and actually it was approved. However, I'm not going to be taking the testing, so they're still going to be getting rid of me. But it gives me the opportunity to get down on paper what I think about it and kind of have some more interaction with the powers that be. So I just kind of jumped in the middle of what you were saying there, but
Yes.
your point, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, wait.
Oh, okay, sure. No, but I'm done. You go ahead, jump in.
Well, it's following what you were about to
Oh,
say.
okay. But how do you know what I was about to say?
Because we're talking.
She knows me. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even know what I was about to say, to be honest.
Well,
Where was I leading?
um, I think about the amount of people that are unvaccinated in America.
Right, right. About the people who haven't gotten the poke or the jab, right? And there are a lot of those people.
I said it again. We have to restart it.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. We aren't talking against it, right? It's okay. She's she's getting she's just learning to speak in secret speak. Uh, but there are 80 million people. She brought up 80 million people who is it 80 million who have gotten the poke or 80 million who haven't?
Who haven't? So, September 15th, whenever it was announced the mandate that anybody who gets any Medicare or Medicaid funding who works for the federal contractor, what was posted was that 80 million were unvaccinated and that this was a um, technique or a strategy to target more people who don't want the vaccine. A lot of the 80 million aren't people that are just standing up because they don't want to be controlled or told what to do. They're standing up because they're afraid of the long term effects. Because there are some. Just look into it. Really look. Have fun searching for it. It's kind of hard. But it'll be there if you really look. So,
And she knows what she's talking about because she works for a national organization that is healthcare related. She's a medic, and so she works for a big outfit, and they send out information to their people all the time. So she's really in the loop of what's going on with this stuff.
also have a couple of DO friends out in Oregon, which is, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a few naturopathic schools up there. And as being naturopathic doctor or DO, you're going to want to find a holistic or homeopathic approach to healthcare. being said, if you're going to school to do that, you shouldn't be mandated for the vaccine, but it is mandated in most colleges. The number one college in America that is a naturopathic organization. So think of that.
Yeah, that's shocking too. They're going to try to get to every place, of course. We know that, but my real purpose for this one is to ask you all a question, because Hallie and I talk about what we do, what we're going to do, the next step, and then the next step after that, and then the next step after that. And I know that most of you all do, or should I say many. I don't know if most of you all do, but many of you all do. Many of you are great planners. Just like I say often, for any of the people who may be newer here, I always say that I've got the smartest commenters on YouTube, and they really are. So when you're done watching this video, go down and review the comments down there, because I know that there are going to be some good ones. We have people with very, very wide and very deep experiences here. But our question, as we got to talking, because she said, why don't we see Americans protesting to the extent that the Australians, the Canadians, the French, the Italians, and the English, all of them, why aren't Americans protesting to the extent those others are? And I think it's because, as yet, we have not seen the boot of the government on our necks in the same physical way with our police out there. We've not seen that on us as they've seen in these other countries. Now, they're trying to work the economic game on us, as they have these others. If people are losing their jobs, they're restricting more and more, and it's the constrictor model. Is that they're going to keep restricting rights and abilities, and the ability to make money and spend money and save money and all this, and we know that that's their plan. Are they going to be successful? That's yet to be seen. But my question here is, and so maybe I should back up. That's why I don't think that we've seen the protests here. Did I say that? Because it hasn't come as heavy on us as it has in these other countries. But if it does, my question is, are we going to see the same rising up of the American people? What do you think?
Do I think we're going to see... I'm uncertain of it, honestly, because when you're having conversations with people about the mandates, and you hear what their responses are, the majority of them is, we should have done this sooner. We should have been more strict about it so we could be out of this by now. It's very limited thinking. Not to be insulting to people that say things like that. It's more so they haven't looked into it. There's so many things going on in life to actually, honestly, I wouldn't have known any of this stuff if I hadn't met them. I probably would have been vaccinated because I was very clouded in judgment. I had no knowledge of anything. And it's not easy for you to go out and get. It's not something that you just think of. When you're see on the TVs and media, you hear it everywhere. Get the vaccine, do this.
We gotta hold that term down.
Get the jab, do this, or get your flu shot every year. I used to get a flu shot every year. I'm not going to anymore. I wonder how many people who are unaware are going to stay unaware and choose to stay unaware because it's easier. I've talked to quite a few people where I work, if they're going to get jabbed, because that is coming up here in a month and a half or two. And a lot of the responses I'm getting is, I don't think it's going to get to that point, but if it does, I'm going to get it because I don't want to leave this. Or the majority of responses are that. Or it's, well, why don't you just do it? Because for me, I have to face, am I going to leave something that I went to school and I've spent the past 4 or 5 years of my life in? So that's a hard thing to weigh, but obviously I'm going to choose me and my health. So the idea of swaying off other options. So when they ask, they're like, well, is it worth it? Do you really want to leave? Why don't you just get it? And then there's a girl in medic school right now. They mandated it, and she was almost done. She didn't get it. So the past 2 years or whatever of her life, gone. all that money gone. You don't get a refund because you decide not to comply. You know, these are serious choices you have to pick. When it comes down to it, you have to really ask yourself, what are your principles? What are your values? What are your beliefs? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be an example for other people? Do you want to teach people how to live honestly? Who do you want to be for your kids? What do you want the next generation to grow up and be? Do you want this to continue in a negative cycle, or do you want to break that? So, the question is, how many Americans are going to break that? I don't know. If you look at the numbers, 80 million, and you think that maybe half of them are the ones that are just afraid of the long-term effects, but when it comes down to it, they get the shot. The jab. Sorry.
It's all right. It's okay.
When it comes down to it, they get it because it's easier, because change is scary. These people don't like change. It's extremely
That's right.
hard.
That's right.
And one of the most difficult things in life for us to do. So, especially whenever you have so much weighing on you. And the hardest thing is to choose what you believe versus an easy path. And that easy path is going to eventually lead to death and destruction.
Standing up for what you believe, especially standing without a lot of backup, is one of the hardest things that you will ever do, but it's the thing that defines the person.
Yeah. You know,
Right?
and then
More than anything else.
there's a song that I love. At the end of it, it goes, the past lays down foundations for the future generations, right? That's kind of what we're kind of at the crossroads here. What do we want the next generation to be? How do we want our children to be? Are we going to change this? Are we going to go back to our American values? Or are we going to continue? Because, there wouldn't be any authority over us if we didn't give it to them. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop this here with my question to you all, because what she was saying just gave me an idea of a second one that I want to shoot here in a minute. I might not put it up on the same day, but I'm going to shoot another one with her. And my question to you all is this, and I will ask in your comments, and you know how I've asked this before, and everybody's been very good for the most part. Please don't refer to or promote any violence. We know the extent this can go to, okay, and many of us feel there's really no getting around it, but there's no reason putting that into words here, because everybody can get their point across. And what my question is to you all is, at what point do you think, or what do you think it will take for the American people to start rising up like those in Australia and Canada and Rome and the others that we mentioned? And what are your ideas? What are your plans? What are you going to do about it when it gets to that point? And here again, please, no mentions or promoting of violence. We can get our points across without jeopardizing the channel. And there's no reason for you to give particulars about your situation that you don't want to. So be careful about that. But at what point? Where does it get that? When does America reach that point? What does it take? That's always the question, right?
Yeah, I guess another question you can add. Is that right?
No, go.
What can you do to help gather more people to have an understanding?
Yeah.
To stand up before you get to that point? Do you want people to switch at that point, or do you want them to have some knowledge before? What are you going to do?
That's right.
How are you going to spread the word?
That's good. And for anybody out there who is doubting that the younger generation is full of people who are able to carry this on, she's less than 1/3 my age, and she's one of my most important pieces in our puzzle. So we will talk to you all later. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And preparing well has to do with thinking of your plans beforehand. So please, we're interested in hearing your thoughts. What do you think it's going to take? What do you personally, how are you planning for it? and let everybody down there know and share and get to talking about it. And we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.